Hey guys, Digital Lifestyle here, back with another video. I haven't put the volume on this. I've turned it down because it's got some kind of music in it, so I thought I'd turn it down and keep it down. But watch, this is regarding China's new drones. They're this is going to change war forever, and I agree with this post by Radar Hits. Um, this is definitely going to change the way war is done. And we think what's going on right now within that country across in the Middle East, we think that's bad. I mean, this is going to change it forever. When you think about it, they don't have to go and destroy buildings and all that kind of stuff, or do they? They could do, or they could just be aiming for the vehicles or whatever weapons that are out there, and then they could target, say, humans, but they could target people who are, say, actively involved in the war, say soldiers. Do you know what I mean? Or just go for the weaponry, say tanks and all that kind of stuff. When you think about it, wow. Oh well, everybody else gonna have them soon, and guess what? They probably use them to track us and all. Anyway, moving on. Got a few clips to play you from Ripple. Their movements in the payment system and what they're doing and how many countries they're working with. Lummis is not particularly happy with Gensler. She has lambasted him and told him he hasn't got any control. And also, one last clip, do like to subscribe regarding the changes that are happening in the world and stablecoin regulations that need to come in place. We do need them. And so all about regulation these days, and hopefully we'll get some passed at some point. But anyway, if you like this kind of content, please do like and subscribe and watch to the end. Take care of yourselves, guys. Digital Lifestyle. And yeah, I haven't been online for a while. Sorry about that, but I'm trying to learn about AI and trying to also produce music. I'm trying to learn how to use AI to make music because that's always been my passion. Anyway, take care of yourselves. Have a great day. Bye.
To build breakthrough crypto solutions for a world without economic borders. One thing that unites our customers is the need for a secure and dependable solution. And our customers truly do span the globe, from North America to LATAM to APAC and EMEA. It's absolutely critical for us to build a product that works for our customers, no matter where they're located and no matter what their business use case is.
Chemistry and great team spirit is what makes our relationships and our partnership work so well. By working with Ripple for the past nearly 3 years, our partners love the solutions and we are able to onboard quite a number of new customers. Since then, we have processed approximately $1.3 billion worth of transactions. That is a big milestone for both Ripple and Crank. I think the numbers speak for itself.
We believe Ripple have the same values, the same focus, and will deliver significant benefits to our partners and to their customers in terms of being able to access digital services real time and therefore drive economic value and benefit to the end customers.
The Ripple payment solution was implemented here since 19. It gave us a new process. We've increased and upgrade our process and give us a new technologies. And we know a new market about the cryptocurrencies. That is a new process for us. And there was changing our mind and our view about the FX process for this. The Ripple payment solutions give us a new level and a new different world for work. This process was provided to us enter in new corridors and new markets. We have more than 10 companies in the last years from here to a new companies that I cannot work until now.
Since Ripple started our network, we've moved over $30 billion worth of volume and over 20 million transactions. But most importantly, last year alone, over 60% of our volume came from on-demand liquidity using the digital asset XRP. That is the future.
Lulu leverages on the Ripple payment solutions to speed up the adoption. Whenever we enter a new partnership, this has actually allowed us to grow the number of correspondents in the last few years, where we used to have a couple of numbers like 5 to 6 new partners coming in. It is actually going in 10s and 20s in the last few years, thanks to Ripple's infrastructure for that. Before Ripple payment solutions came in place, we had to depend on multiple liquidity partners across the globe. This used to be a challenge. We have the flexibility now of increasing the working capital or actually decreasing the working capital as per the need of the business. This has really made us stand out in terms of our competitors. We are confidently going back to the new partners and to the new customers to actually deliver the promise that we have, that is deliver payments across the globe in 15 seconds.
So it's not like we don't have money, but the money is parked in various accounts across the world. So here's where Ripple liquidity solution or treasury solution comes in. It is just wonderful. It gives us that extra liquidity for us to accelerate our business and really not bother or worry about trying to move money across accounts. It's really helped us, especially in businesses like ISME business, almost double our growth. And that's something that I credit the treasury solutions for. When we look at the future and what we're trying to build together, I think Ripple is with us every step of the way.
Ripple solutions aren't just limited to payments. We're also providing crypto solutions for liquidity that ultimately propel the global financial system into the future where it belongs.
For crypto, the future holds a more critical part in actual business activities. And we're in a very important part of our industry right now where we're transitioning away from really purely speculative use cases to actual commercial use cases. There's some instant benefits that we get from Liquidity Hub. Programmatic, upfront pricing that allows acquisitions and withdrawals of NFTs instantaneously. That is a big order that doesn't really exist from the other platforms that we've tried before. Not to mention, Ripple is building crypto for business, which means that they have a suite of products, not just Liquidity Hub, but external payouts through their payment network, as well as additional features that they're bringing to bridge these products together. That is an unbeatable offering for a business like ours, who lives and dies by our ability of trading, as well as making pay-ins and payouts to our global customer base.
At Ripple, we are totally dedicated to making that happen for our customers, to ensure that they can continue to deliver for their own customers.
Chairman Gensler would rather politicize accounting standards to achieve policy goals in the banking industry, an industry I'd like to remind him he does not regulate, rather than conduct a transparent policy-making process. Maybe it's because Chairman Gensler knows that putting customer assets on the balance sheet is bad policy that would garner enough support to finalize a rule. Or rather would not garner enough support to finalize a rule. Maybe it's because he's committed to an ill-informed and unworkable fight against the digital asset industry at any cost. Unfortunately, SAB 121 does nothing to protect consumers. Nothing to protect consumers. It hurts them. I hope that all of my colleagues will recognize this and join me in voting in support of House Joint Resolution 109. Mr. President, I yield the floor.
I guess the question is, what could you do now, knowing we have debt problems in the future? I think there's a couple of things Congress could do. They're not, but maybe they'll get something done. I think stablecoin legislation would be a good step in the right direction. That could be helpful. That could be done this year, but I don't see anything other than that on the horizon.
Let's talk about stablecoin, because I've heard you say that actually getting legislation on that could help treasury auctions. And when you said it, I said, what's the connection there? Take our audience through that connection.
Yeah, so stablecoins, which are digital private sector dollar-backed currencies. It's not crypto because it's tethered to the US dollar. They have to have dollar-backed assets. They have to have treasuries or cash to back those stablecoins. There's not a law that governs these right now, so they aren't really deployed. But if you actually have a law, which Patrick McHenry and Chair Waters, Maxine Waters and Patrick McHenry are putting a deal together. Schumer is in talks with them. I think there's a reasonable chance they could get a deal on stablecoin legislation. That means you have a legal framework in which you have stablecoins deployed. You'd go from a couple $100 billion of stablecoins to, maybe trillions. Right now, stablecoins are like the 16th largest buyer of bonds, bills, and notes among all sovereigns. If you actually regulate stablecoins and have them deployed, that does two things. That gets the US dollar more deeply ingrained in the oncoming digitization of currencies. That's a good thing. And you create new consumers' demand for our bonds because they have to have those to back up the stablecoins. So more demand for treasuries, more use of a digital dollar throughout the system to help better entrench the dollar. It's a win-win situation for America. I think it's a no-brainer. I'm hopeful, cautiously optimistic Congress might do that this year still. There are good talks happening, and that's one thing you could do on the margin to try and, improve demand for our bonds and improve dollar.
Worst case scenario is that inflation actually stays up and that these indicators come down. So what does the Fed choose then, and what kind of economy are we left with?
I think the Fed will be under pressure for another reason, which is that let's remember that a year ago we had a banking crisis in the US.
Yeah.
We are not hearing anything about it anymore, but you have dozens of small regional banks in America that are exposed to real estate, are writing off loans, and the higher for longer phenomenon is having a direct impact on this second tier of the banking sector in America. And I think that the Fed will, in addition to the slowdown that I described, the Fed will very much be aware that if they keep rates at this high level, they may have another banking crisis on their hands, which obviously they would like to avoid.
10 of the world's 11 major central banks are expected to cut rates in the second half of 2024, marking the most synchronized easing cycle since the Great Financial Crisis of 2008. Last week, the Swiss National Bank became the first major central bank to ease policy after it announced an unexpected 25 basis point cut to its key rate. Other major central banks, including the US Federal Reserve, the ECB, and the Bank of England, are expected to cut rates multiple times before the year ends. In addition, the Central Bank of Brazil, Bank of Mexico, Central Bank of Paraguay, and others have announced rate cuts, with other emerging market economies expected to make similar moves in a few weeks or months. According to Lavish, these rate cuts are a precursor to more reckless monetary printing, because these economies cannot function without further currency debasement. This makes a strong case for Bitcoin, because when everyone realizes how screwed the financial system is, there won't be enough Bitcoin to accommodate the demand. Let's get back to the discussion.
Central banks have gotten themselves in a position where, they cannot handle high rates for long, right? So if you look around the world, our developed countries are up above 100% debt to GDP, and even the UK joined that club last year. That's one aspect of it. I think you're looking around the world and you're hearing central bankers talk about unemployment and employment numbers, and we've heard that from the Fed here, and so now we're talking about even here whether or not it's not whether or not we're raising or lowering rates anymore. It's just when we're going to lower them, and that's become quite obvious. And so now the markets are just deciding and debating over when and how many cuts are coming. And so, but you heard the Fed and kind of nod toward looking at the unemployment rates instead of inflation. Saying that they can be patient, that they don't have to hit the 2% target to be ready to lower rates, that just as long as it's going in the right direction. It's become so obvious. This manipulated system it's an absolute mess, and they're going to continue to do this and kick the can down the road and allow for inflation. Every single central bank is gaslighting the public across the world, and they're printing money, they're expanding the money supply, they're issuing massive amounts of debt, and they're just trying to nominally pay for it with negative rates. And that's basically what we're looking at. If you guys remember, Mike remembers this pretty well, is that during that time of 2010 to 2020, the zero interest rate policy had us at negative rates for a long time. I mean, we were it was basically free money, so this is just it's an incredible situation that we're finding ourselves in, and I feel like it's accelerating. How quickly it's accelerating, I don't know. This obviously has gone on for a long time. The public is not widely aware of it yet. You're hearing some dissatisfaction. You're seeing, I guess, TikToks of younger people who are frustrated that they can't keep up with rent and their wages. But by and large, people are still kind of asleep on it. So they're going to continue to get away with it.
We are living in a tyrannical situation where there's only 2 clicks left when you are required to have digital ID to move around and have a life, and when cashless central bank digital currencies are the only way you can buy and sell. At that point, you've lost your freedom. If you follow the breadcrumbs to 2030, anyone can look up the UN 2030 SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. By 2030, Britain specifically will have no commercial passenger aircraft leaving the country. You will not be able to leave. There will be no ships leaving the country. You will not own private transport. You will have a digital ID to do everything, and you will only have electronic money with which to transact. I would say at that point you are a slave, and because you can see them coming, you should say no. Say no right now. Stop.